G'day YouTube people. Today we're going out to Cannington in Perth to have a look at a safe active street. This one is Gibb Street. Now the WA government has got a Safe Active Street pilot program running where they've built a bunch of them across WA, and in order to get this one we ride out, well, what would normally be on the principal shared path that runs along the Armidale line, but as you can see they're ripping up the line over on the right hand side there and putting in a new railway line, and as a result the principal shared path has been closed in places and you have to ride on the road. However, that doesn't stop us from getting to Gibb Street. Here we go, turning in, and you can see there's a raised platform and a nice big bit of blue signage there to let you know you're now on a safe active street. It's all 30 kilometres an hour. You might have seen the signs as we came in. And you can see a bunch of treatments as we go along here. One of the most important being the use of red asphalt to indicate it's a shared zone. You can see they've kind of relocated parking on either side, and they've left that as black asphalt to make it clear that that's for parking. And what that does is it visually narrows the street, and that's a big help in slowing down traffic. Whether it actually works or not is another matter. And one thing I did notice going along this street up and back was speeding did seem to be a problem. I don't think they had really effectively managed to lower the speed limit on this street to 30 kilometres an hour. Now, one thing you might notice, there's no footpath on the left-hand side, although there is one on the right. In a lot of newer suburbs in Perth, they just haven't put in any footpaths whatsoever. So the only place you can walk in some areas is actually on the road, which is a little bit screwball. And if they do have a path like that one, it's usually pretty narrow and crusty and not suitable for riding on at all. You really have to ride on the road. Now, in a couple of minutes, I'm going to go through a bunch of slides from Austroads, a webinar that was done a week or two ago that ran through how the pilot program is going, and I'm going to steal some slides from it, and we can look at those slides and then look at this street and see how things kind of match up, I guess. Now, coming up in front of us, we've got a school. Now, we're used to school zones being 40 kilometres an hour, but in this case, the entire zone past this school is 30 kilometres an hour all the time, which I think is quite useful. And they've really narrowed the street here in both directions, I guess, to slow down drivers. Now, I did a lap of the school, or I tried to do a lap of the school, to have a look at bike parking to see whether this safe active street was successful in getting kids to ride or scooter to school. Now, I couldn't find a bike car park and I wasn't going to go into the school grounds to have a look for one. But I think that would be an interesting way of evaluating whether the street is successful. Are more kids riding, walking or scootering to school once it goes in? Now, it just so happened that not so long ago I was out in Bassendean on a similar shared active street to this one, and it also goes past a school, and I went back and had a look at the bike parking because it was just inside the fence to get an idea of, well, how successful is this? And as you can see, there's a reasonable number of bikes there. There's actually a good amount of bike parking. There's a lot of scooters against the back wall there, and I guess you could do counts before and after you put the path in to see whether riding's gone up. Anyway, if you want to have a good look at the slides, go to the Austroads site. You can create a log on and you can watch the webinar, and you can pull down the 60 odd slides and have a look as well. So you can see Canning, it's over on the far right hand side there. It was done in like 2022. Gibb Street was opened, and they've got a bunch of slides here on all the treatments that they've tried on all these streets so far. And you can see there's a whole bunch of them. And they didn't use a lot of them on the Gibb Street pilot. But, this is what they're trying to do. Reduce motor vehicle numbers and speeds, increase the number of people of all ages and abilities riding and walking, increase the number of riding and walking trips, and getting the local community to recognise safe active streets as safe and comfortable places to walk and ride, which I think are all really good, sound objectives. And they've done a bunch of reports. I have not looked at any of these evaluation reports yet. I'm going to see if I can find the one for Canning and have a look. Now, what do people like? Slowing down the road and making it safe and comfortable, the accessibility and connecting connectivity improvements, but especially to schools and other paths, and it just looks better. What do they not like? The narrowness of the roads, and I don't really like that as a cyclist either. Traffic congestion at peak times, especially school drop-off. Confusion on right-of-way, I did notice that. Lack of signage alerting users to the 30-kilometre speed limit, yeah, there could be more, and ineffective of traffic calming. Now, they found a combination of treatments was more effective. So more traffic calming, plus on-street parking, this is interesting, plus active transport infrastructure was strongly correlated with speed reduction and increases in riding. And and this is a really important slide, this one. The distance between treatments does matter. So where they've narrowed the road and the treatments are less than 80 to 100 metres apart, then vehicle speeds tend to be lower. Where the road widths have not been altered and treatments are greater than 100 metres apart, you get higher vehicle speeds. And that's what I noticed on Gibb Street. There's a long distance between the traffic calming and they were speeding. Now also increased visible changes were more effective, so putting these great big blue signs on the street I think are particularly useful, and also big 30-kilometre-hour speed things as well. Look, I would make those 30-kilometre-hour pavement markings much bigger and more colourful. This is a good slide as well about language, particularly when consulting with residents. Talk about safe, active streets, not bike boulevards. You talk about local connections rather than commuter routes. You talk about bike riding rather than cycling, blah, blah, blah. So very important stuff to note for any future transport projects in Sydney is getting the language right when discussing stuff with residents. Don't put your cycling head on or put your walking head on. Use the appropriate language that it's not going to inflame the sensibilities of the residents. Very important point, and I think we really saw that with Heath Street, where the residents got really upset at what was going on there, and ended up with council tearing out a perfectly good bike lane. So now that we've had a look at all those treatments, yeah, I mean, there was someone that was zooming through, obviously, and on the way back, no, I also got passed the other day by someone absolutely flying down here in a ute, well above the speed limit, probably doing 50 plus in a 30-kilometre-hour zone. And remember, like, this is running at 2 times speed. Yeah, there you go. That guy just went screaming down and then actually turned right to go to a work site about 100 metres up the road there. Yeah, good one, buddy. It was a concreting business, so maybe he'd gone out to get the sausage rolls and coffee for afternoon tea. I don't know. But anyway, here it ends. Just kind of peters out at Welshpool Road. Now, I'll do it on the way back as well, just so you get a view in both directions. Over on the right here is a new soccer stadium that opened up about 6 months ago. I've done a video on it. It's now called the Sam Kerr Football Centre. And I've done a video on what it looks like and all the bike parking that's available there, and I'll link to it at the end. But anyway, you can see here that the streets are relatively wide. The traffic calming is quite a long distance between each of these little speed humps. There's quite a lot of parking on both sides of the road, and one of the things they don't do is they don't kind of angle the street back and forth. That's a very effective treatment that I've seen in some other locations, where what they do is they'll have parking on, say, the left for 100 metres, and then they change it to parking on the right. And what that does is the street changes direction every 100, changes direction, what do you call it? It's like a kink in the street, like a dog leg. And you have to change direction. It's not this great long drag strip that you see here, which goes for, I don't know, a kilometre or two, where people just see this long thing in front of them. They go, right, I can put my foot down, and off they go. If you put a kink in the street every 100 metres or so, it takes away that line of sight the drivers have got, and it slows them down. I think that works quite effectively. That's where I did that little loop around the school, just having a look at things. Now, one thing I also found is off to the left and right here, there's various parks, there's walking paths and cycling paths that go through them. So yeah, this is really quite good at connecting all those things together, the football stadium, the school, the parks, and at the end here also connecting to the principal shared path. So if you turn right, in, I don't know, 8 or 10 Ks, you're in the city. You turn left, you can head out into the countryside. Anyway, if you're interested in this stuff, like I said, go to the Austroads website, have a look at the webinar, go through the slides as well. Some really useful information in there, I think, and we could learn a lot of lessons from these things and the webinar for building safe active transport infrastructure in New South Wales. And if you like, yeah, you can also go and have a look at the video on bike parking at the Sam Kerr Stadium to see, what's a good level of bike parking to put in at sporting facilities. That'll do. Catch you later.